So I saw that you guys have only been playing together for like a couple of years. Is that right?
No.
Oh, that's not right. Oh, I thought I read that.
I think we've only been the Ciderhouse Rebellion since the beginning of the pandemic. Been playing. Well,
we think
13 years.
Yeah, about 13.
Oh, so yeah, that's much longer than 20.
So
whoever's doing that maths is
he was a dep in a gig that I was doing.
Right.
And
where was it?
England.
Oh yes, I know it well.
Can't remember.
Somewhere in England.
We were doing this Edith Piaf trio, and the fiddler who normally played it was pregnant. Nothing to do with me. And,
so he says. But look at all those children over there.
Stop it! And Adam... That's not the fiddler. And Adam depped on the gig. But within this gig, there were repertoire where we could play what we liked. So there was a degree of freedom, a degree, not totally improvising, but certainly flexibility within it. And normally, if you've never performed with somebody, it's going to be a bit, let's play it safe, let's just do this, and we didn't, and we just, for some reason, found that we could play together like we've been blending.
We hadn't even played
we hadn't rehearsed.
Before we went
so that was the first time you actually met, was it?
So we both came off, it was pretty much, and then we came off stage and we were right, okay, we've got to do something together. I guess why it says 2020 is our first Ciderhouse Rebellion disc.
Yes.
Came out in 2020.
Right,
and that was, we'd been doing something before that. We'd had a bunch of really old folk tunes and we'd been doing an album and we'd finished it. And
accidentally pressed delete.
Could have done. But in the car the day before, I'd said, well, if we finish in time, why don't we just put the mics on and improvise? And he said, no, that's a ridiculous idea. So we did.
What's he on
So
about?
we just finished, stuck the mics on, and just the first track was a half-hour track, then a 20-minute track, and then a little filler.
Yes, that's where me saying that's a stupid idea, why are we doing it? This happens a lot, I've noticed. One of us, and it can go in either direction, one of us will have an idea, the other one will say that's a ridiculous idea, but how about? And then make it even more ridiculous.
Well, that's a good partnership though, isn't it? That's a good partnership, you know? Keep
so we were going to do little miniatures. Adam's idea was, why don't we do sort of little 3-minute nice tunes.
So your original album that you said you recorded, was that...
come out.
We haven't released it.
So was that more like you more traditional, like you wrote the songs and recorded them?
We found... quite often there would be very old folk tunes, sort of 70s.
What sort of stuff? Do you mind me asking? Or if it's top secret?
No, it's not at all secret. We were looking at manuscripts from English old repertoire and European.
Yeah, can you give me any names or?
No.
Yes.
Only because I'm really interested.
There's that one that we called Summertime, which is something like the summer's coming. Yes.
Something Castorama.
Something Castorama, that's right.
I know, I've never heard of that. The only reason I ask is because I'm really interested in that myself.
Okay.
I think it's really interesting. I remember watching a really good Fairport Convention documentary, and it was saying, back in the 60s, it sounded so romantic. I can't remember if it was like, I think maybe Salisbury.
Okay.
Probably wrong. But anyway, back in those days, obviously there was no internet or anything like that, so they found it was like the library of folk music or something like that. And there was only like one in the UK, I think.
Absolutely.
And they went and they booked some place sort of like a couple of miles away, and they would just go in there every day, looking through old manuscripts, and some of them were just like newspaper clippings from like Portsmouth in like the 1700s with like some lyrics in, and nobody knows who originally wrote the songs.
No.
But I think that's just
some of ours were
isn't
things like that. So one of them was called Bonnie Kate of Edinburgh. I just remembered. It's not what we called it. We called it something completely different.
I think I've heard of that. Yeah.
But that's in the Farn Archive, which is up in Newcastle, I think. And it's on a big online thing, and it's a book from 16, can't remember what. It's got some. So we took a bunch of tunes from there. Some old Spanish stuff.
One of the fun things I remember that was actually rather intriguing for me was the way that they were notated in 1600 and something was done very much shorthand, because they've heard it now. It's just an aid memoir, really. But you look at it and you go, that doesn't make too many beats in that bar. What's going on? And the usual way people have realised those is to work out what they think it should have been. So, okay, it probably was a waltz, so we're going to force everything into 3/4. There you go. We went, no, we're going to play what they wrote down, which meant some really surreal times going on. That was great fun.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
Might have been wrong, but hey.
But equally, when you go to something like, we've just been to Portugal, and some of the Portuguese tunes, it is damn peculiar. It's not in an 8-bar thing. It suddenly finishes on 7.5, and it goes round. Well, if you were transcribing, if it had been transcribed, you'd have evened it out. But it doesn't. Same with a load of Romanian stuff that I've played. it just doesn't fit. So the older stuff might not have fitted. We might have just squared it all off later. Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah, no, I guess it sounds interesting and it catches your ear. That's the main thing. I remember one of the most sort of best musical experiences I've ever had was when I was in Sorrento, and it was all thanks to my missus. Really, she noticed that there was some Sorrento folktales playing at a theatre. We went there and it just blew my mind because they had like dancing going on, and it was like history of Sorrento or something. So they were almost like showing through dance and music, almost like trying to give us like the story of Sorrento. Right, it's one day, but with the most insane music. There on the stage with dancers, and it just I was just like, wow, it's insane, but it's just absolutely beautiful.
It's great stuff.
Absolutely beautiful. So,
so that's an album you'll never hear.
Yeah, that's the same.
It might be on hard drive somewhere. I'd have to search.
But I don't think we'd release it either. I think if we wanted to revisit those, we'd just take those tunes now and do what we do now, which is just start with a tune and see where the world takes us.
It's fun. It's funny. We were looking you up this morning. Obviously, half of the information apparently was completely wrong. But me and Drew, because me and Drew played together, and we were saying like these guys are so on our wavelength because me and Drew always try and improvise a lot. And what we call it sounds a bit like corny, but we say just getting into like flow state. You know,
but it kind of is.
You're just trying to get in that flow state with each other where you're both, if you like gelled with someone and you said you guys just immediately hit it off, like for some reason you can like read each other's mind, playing off each other, you'll do something almost like what to do, and vice versa.
That's the weird thing. We don't have any. It's not a sense of clever interplay or anything. Neither of us got a clue what we're doing.
Neither of us.
But it just all seems to work.
Wow, that's a long way to continue. So you genuinely don't even feel like when you're playing with each other that you are necessarily feeding off each other, or was that just a joke?
We certainly react to each other, but it
more
almost
often happens at the same time.
Really
we're basically belting along, and then suddenly, we've both changed time signature on the bar line to something slower and different, all the other way around.
But you are reading each other on some weird level.
On some weird level.
Deep level.
But you don't understand.
Someone like that, some weird level. It's a weird level. That's the best way to
We've certainly had, I remember an audience member once commenting about how they thought that we were basically in some way trying to trip each other up and then laughing, but all we were actually doing was laughing when we realised what we just did. It was kind of an after, oh blimey, how did that happen? I know that happens all the time. We just suddenly end up grinning at each other because we both of us surprised each other. And it's
you're just sort of like, what have we even just come up with? And how did that last 20-minute jam work?
No, it's exactly
it's
that.
Very, very weird.
It's exactly that.
Amazing. So do you mind me asking, like, sort of like your individual backgrounds? So sort of like, you know, just sort of like where did you both individually grow up? What was your first?
We haven't grown up.
Yeah, well,
I feel we need to clarify that one.
I think that's why we're getting on. But, like, you know, can you remember like your earliest individual musical sort of inspirations?
Squirrels, absolutely.
It's for you, it's not for me.
Yeah.
So, no, I can absolutely, because when I was a kid, in my bedroom there was a pelmet.
Whereabouts did you grow up? Do you mind me asking?
This might have been in Sutton Coldfield, or it might have been in just north of Leicester. No,
Right.
I think it was Sutton Coldfield.
Right.
Yeah, will have been, because I was really young. But anyway, pelmet, curtain pelmet thing, and on top of it was this tiny violin that my grandpa had put there at 32nd size or something. And so I always,
Did he buy it for you?
I think it was something he'd had forever. He was a violinist and a fiddler.
Oh, okay.
And so he
He
had
was a fiddle teacher, wasn't he? So.
yeah, fiddle teacher, fiddle player.
So it's in your blood then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No cure.
Anyway, so it's got down for me, and I just picked it up, and I can remember exactly what I played. It was the song that went, I saw a squirrel, I saw a squirrel.
It's not improved. We'll play that in today's concert, shall we?
That was my first musical experience.
And when you say that, was that like a song you made up on the spot? Like,
well, yeah, it was because those are the pictures of the open strings, basically.
Right. Okay.
Give or take my singing.
Okay. So what about sort of then as you were sort of growing up? Like, did you just carry on playing from that moment? Just the moment you picked it up,
I don't really remember the sort of next bit, but yeah, then I was always going to play the violin. I was always going to be like Grandpa and play the violin. He taught me.
So he was your main inspiration?
Yeah, totally.
Grandfather.
And
what was his name?
Alex Waymond.
Alex Waymond.
Or Waymond, as they called him in Whitby.
Okay.
For no good reason, because it's not really his name. So then I just carried on. He taught me, went through. Then I was in Leicestershire, and there was an amazing school of music. So you kind of got diverted around the classical angle, because that's what they were teaching, and there were orchestras and this, that and the other. I went off to music college in London, did all that.
Fantastic.
Been a soloist, directed chamber orchestras and all that. But folk music is still folk music, and it's a real living thing, and that's what I've always done as well. So
something exciting about it, isn't there?
Yeah, and there's something, well, I love what we end up doing with it, is the opportunity to take something that's really old and just regenerate it in the moment, however it feels. Because I remember my grandpa saying, we were talking about this in Portugal actually, because he used to actually have a band for dancing, which was fiddle and accordion and a cornet. And I remember him saying, you can't just play this tune the same again. So what you often hear these days is people play the same tune 3 or 4 times. The arrangement might beef up and it's great, but then they just change tune. Whereas his view was, well, you would never play it the same twice anyway. But as you came to the 3rd or 4th time, you go somewhere else and just take it somewhere else, which is basically what we do. Yeah. Except these days, as Murray said memorably, we can't even play the same thing once.
Yeah. I'm going to get T-shirts done.
Yeah, I think so.
So you've been working in immersive music all your life then?
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Did you say you were working with like choirs and classical music and stuff?
Not with choirs very much. No, I used to.
They wouldn't want it.
Yeah.
No, I used to, until I don't know, decade ago, I used to direct a chamber orchestra from London that used to play all around the country, or chamber ensembles. Done loads of solo stuff, concertos and all that. And then I was with a group called Red Priest, which is it's led by a mad and genius recorder player called Piers Adams, who is the best player in the world of that.
Wow.
It's quartet, it's Baroque music, except done ridiculous, ludicrous things too, and that was an absolute blast.
That sounds amazing. I wanted to make sure I ask you before we leave. I can write that down before I forget it and check some of that out.
And so I did the last disc with them that they did, and we toured that for a bit, and that was great fun, but I stopped doing it now.
Wow. And that was it because you met Murray and...
No.
Different things.
I mean, we had already started doing this other stuff.
Right.
The pandemic came, it stopped the international touring, that's mostly what we did.
Sure.
Things shift, it just became okay, leave this for now kind of event
and
for me.
In terms of other musical sort of influences, were you the sort of person that had like a lot of musical influences that you looked at, other than your grandfather, of course? Like growing up, or did you sort of feed off that, or not really? Was it just the playing and the
more that, just the playing and being involved with all the things I've done. Yeah, of course, you listen to stuff, but it's always been more organic, really.
I find that's quite interesting. I think like some people like feed off like certain artists, they'll become fixated on them and become so inspired. Other people like yourself, Drew's like more like you as well. Like it's more just like the writing and everything he gets immersed in and things like that, rather than like me and my other friend Josh. Like we'll talk for hours and hours and hours about artists, and we'll find out everything about them and chat. Right. And Drew's more like, how do you know that stuff about them? But he'll write songs like all the freaking time. Yeah. You know, constantly.
So I mean, there were things that I remember. The Corries was it's just 2 Scottish guys banging a drum and stuff, and I absolutely loved their music. I used to listen to loads of that. So there's things I used to listen to. I don't know anything about them at all. Yeah. I was astonished to see a photograph of them on the internet. It's like, oh, they're actually people.
You didn't even know what they looked like. Just never even thought to even look them up. Yeah.
But no, I definitely.
That's like radio presenters. Nobody knows what they look like. Until
good
nowadays. The internet has changed all of this.
Yeah. What about yourself, Murray? What was like growing up? When did you start playing and influences into that?
I actually started on the old piano thing, but that was, I think, more my parents doing the whole, well, let's see if you'll do the practice. Okay. And if you stick at it for a year, I was 7.
And where were you? Where did you grow up?
Manchester area, Manchester, Cheshire. Manchester South, Manchester, Cheshire, depends what year. But my parents met through Scottish country dance. So in my early years, they stopped later, but in my early years, I was going to that or would be taken whilst basically babysitting and all the rest of it. So I was exposed to that, which is, of course, mostly fiddle and accordion. That kind of was happening, not with any direction or anything, but that's there, so it's gone into my psyche. Then, later on, when I learnt the piano, I've been for a bit, my dad suddenly said, well, would you like to learn another instrument? Oh, yeah, that'd be good, yeah, I've really enjoyed it, yeah, let's do this. And he wrote down a list of every instrument he could think of. All the orchestral instruments, or, electric guitar, all the normal things. But he also put folky things down, like the two that I actually selected. Bagpipes and accordion were on the list, and those were the two that I chose as I would be interested of all the instruments on the planet.
Yeah, that's
those
quite
are
unique.
The two.
That's quite unique, isn't it? But I mean, like in a good way.
It says a lot about me, I think, really.
But that's great, because let's face it, folk music would be dead if it wasn't for the fact there was the odd lad.
So
odd lad.
No. You said it, not me.
I mean, in a good way.
I like your style.
But if you did, like most kids, you'd think would pick guitar or drums. Because they think that'd be cool.
Yeah,
that would, girls will like me and stuff. But you were like accordion, bagpipes. So that seems so random, but brilliant. Isn't it?
And then it went down, it sort of settled on accordion. I tried pipes for a bit, though in hindsight, what I tried was Highland pipes, which takes so much lung that I think at the age of 7 was probably not going to
give yourself like a hernia in your throat.
So accordion, you can pick that up and go, I can do that, press things, and okay, that'll work. Went down that route and it was all fine.
Do you remember how you took to the instrument? Like at first, was it one of those things that you were like, what the hell is this? Or
no, I can't remember the first sensations, but
I imagine it's a sort of instrument. Funny enough, I feel the same thing about the violin, which I have picked up before, but not over an accordion. I can imagine it's to somebody that's never played one. It's so almost like nuanced.
Yes,
I can imagine it's like, what am I doing?
I do sometimes deliberately pick up an accordion the wrong way round in order to remind myself of that sense of out of control alienness, what's going on. Now, of course, it feels just like a part of my own body. It's just normal.
Not that long ago, he left an accordion at my place for a week for reasons that I can't remember. So I thought,
Lucy's appendix, I think.
Oh, that's right. So I thought, okay, well, I'll see if I can play most things up to a point fairly straight away. So I thought, I'll have a go at this, and I play the piano, so that should have all been fine. But this bit, what on earth's going on? And it stopped because
the right hand was a button key, not a piano key. I seem to remember.
Oh yeah, it was a button, which took a bit of work. But I was getting there. It was just, I mean, the violin's all this way. Makes it's like the breath, if you like. Whereas this is that for the oh god.
But I imagine it's a sort of instrument.
I was totally talentless, that's the truth.
But both of those instruments, I can imagine it's almost like more developing muscle memory. Rather than like with a piano, like with a guitar, if you learn to play guitar, you can sort of play the piano or vice versa a bit. Do you know what I mean? Like you can figure out chords and things.
I think the accordion's kind of got a bit of both, because obviously it is a keyboard instrument, but it's also a wind instrument. So you've got, and I think that's possibly the bit that's confusing you, is that you could have learned a keyboard instrument, or you could have learned a wind instrument.
Well, no, but
it's fusing the two together.
It's multitasking.
I've got the blown keyboard instrument, no problem with that. No, for me, it's literally using the left hand to do the stuff that should be done with your right hand.
As I said, it's like muscle memory, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the violin, I don't know how on earth it works. There's no notes on it at all.
I agree.
I find it a very impressive instrument. You see someone really ripping it on a violin.
Don't encourage it.
Well, the Squirrel song was, I didn't even need to improve after that.
So what about sort of like after that?
I did that. Did sort of kept going. Had a teacher who got me going, but then just one of those moments. There was a programme on BBC Radio 4 that my father found and recorded for me on tape. I'm showing my age here.
No, I remember those good days. Just about, don't worry.
But it was a programme called The History of the Accordion, and it was hosted by a gentleman called Mogens Ellegaard, who he was the prime developer of the modern accordion, the classical accordion around the world. He was basically it. And the BBC had got him to come along and do this whole programme all about the accordion, where did it come from and where is it now. And that exposed me to the whole mysteries of classical accordion, which is not what we're playing so much today. In fact, no, on the accordion I've got today, I couldn't. But that's where you end up with single notes on both hands, so it's like a two-manual organ. And that's the way my life then went for a while.
Did you get really immersed in his music?
Really immersed in that sort of world, which is a very... specific world.
Niche.
Niche, niche. Okay. Because the classical accordion is a modern instrument, we're talking the 50s onwards, Bach wasn't around in 1950.
Sure.
So most of the stuff that's been written, what he's trying to say is it's crap.
All of that stuff, which is technically incredibly hard. So it really developed my playing. I went to the Royal Academy of Music, did a whole music degree, playing classical repertoire, did, like Adam did the concerto thing, did all of that stuff. Wow. And the thing that killed it for me, I did this world premiere of this solo accordion piece by a German composer. It was unbelievably hard. It took me like 4 months to learn this thing. It was so demanding. Did the world premiere after all this work to 20 people. And I'm at the end of it going, why? What on earth was this about? And other things were happening in my life, and I ended up basically moving back home to the Manchester area, got involved with a folk group. Next thing I know, I'm playing something that I could do without thinking, just playing some tunes. Yeah, great. Oh, there's 2,000 people in the audience. Way!
Wow.
And all of a sudden, the fun was back.
Of course,
and then it develops from there, and you go off and you meet people, and you do this project and that project and all the rest of it, and so on. So that's kind of the potted history. Very good.
you remember there was like a conversation where you actually sat with each other and said like, let's officially make it?
It's a really good conversation.
Yeah?
So we arranged that I went round to his. Let's spend a day. We're going to explore this and plan. And we went to a cafe in his local village.
So how long after knowing each other was this? Was it quite sort of soon after?
3 months, 6 months.
Okay.
That order. We went to this cafe and went, right, look, we've both of us done loads of projects where you've done the music and then you've thought about the marketing and how's this going to work. So we're going to be really clever this time and work out what does the market need. How are we going to do this? And we came up with all this stuff. And there is this master plan. And I can say without fear of contradiction that we've done the exact opposite ever since that meeting. We haven't done a single thing that we worked out was the clever thing to do.
And we've done exactly the opposite of everything that we said. Under no circumstances should you do this. So we did.
So we did.
So you've come to the conclusion that you
planning
work
is
better
not our
winging
strength.
it. So you've just winged everything, basically.
Oh, totally.
Oh yeah, including the notes.
But I think for some people that's the best way you work. Then that's the best way you work.
Yeah.
You know.
Sometimes you have to accept the way you are.
Well, we have to accept that we're incapable of doing anything we intend to. So we might as well just see what happens.
And how did you come up with the name?
Oh, that's easy.
That's easy. That one.
It is a direct. This is quite a nice beer.
Yeah, this one's fine. This is fine.
But the world, I don't know if you've noticed. I was a very keen real ale drinker,
right?
As was Murray. And then the world has gone to overhopped IPAs.
Everything's
I'm still a real ale drinker. I can let you know. I've been looking around the last couple of days trying to find all the local Kent
nice,
ales.
Dark, chewy, chocolatey. Where have they gone?
Yeah, I agree.
And so suddenly, wherever you go, we've got 17 beers on. They're all IPA. They've all got more hops in the last one.
I like you guys more and more. I think exactly the same thing, and I moan like an old man to all of my friends who have jumped on the IPA bandwagon, and I just want a good old pint of Bass from a nice keg.
So then we were at Glastonbury.
We were playing at Glastonbury.
And I'd found a proper still cider, really nice one. And I'd been drinking. I said, look, come and try this. And he said, I don't drink cider. I said, yeah, you do. You just don't know it yet.
Try this.
And he tried it, and we do. And so it's the Ciderhouse Rebellion.
Well,
we're rebelling against IPA.
I love that. Yeah, so you're rebelling against IPA. So well, as a Somerset man, I'm very, it's great. And you're very much right. Whoever said that to you, when you're in Somerset, it's like cider isn't cider. I mean, a lot of places it's like you just got like three. Yeah, exactly. It's like that is cider, but I mean, there's about like 30, 40 different varieties in Somerset. There's a lot of ciders I don't like, but as you said, the really strong sort of 7-8% ones that taste like apple juice are lethal
and gorgeous.
And they are the most lethal thing, because it's a bit like when you're younger and you have like a really nice cocktail or something, and you're like, it's so easy to put too much like vodka and Galliano in it and all that nice stuff, and then you have like two and realise you've put like quarter of a bottle of vodka because it's got so much fruit juice in it. It's a bit like that, isn't it? The
best one I remember, you weren't there for this one, but my wife, who happens to be sitting behind us, but we were at Sidmouth, and there was this cider called Agent Orange, and it was bright orange.
As well, deadly by the sound of it.
But the thing was, it was also the end of the barrel. It was concentrated, probably been sitting there, slowly getting stronger through the day. And for reasons I will not go into, I was needing a drink. There was definite need for a drink. And Lucy went and bought me a pint of this stuff. And I don't remember that much more after that. One pint of Agent Orange. My God, it was good stuff. Anyway.
Yeah,
it is
go wrong.
It is quite brutal.
Well, since my wife's also there was we were in Whitby, and we were going to have dinner in the Magpie Cafe, which I thoroughly recommend. For
absolutely,
excellent fish,
good food.
But we were with my daughter and a couple of friends of hers were there, and we were in this little cafe, not cafe, the opposite of a cafe, pub, by the station, and this absolutely gorgeous. I can't remember what it's called. It's one we have. I think it's a really strong 8% Perry or something.
Okay.
Anyway, so I had one of those, and I don't know, 3 of those, and that was all great. Got to the Magpie and I was in deep shit for just giggling helplessly and being too loud. I was very happy.
Brilliant. So, sort of getting back to sort of like your recording style. No, I love that. I thought
we're not far off our recording style.
Yeah. That's just when you start pressing record. Yeah. But so, I'm thinking you've got 4 albums, is it right, that you've recorded since 2020?
4 as a duo.
Yeah.
Then we've got 3 with Jessie.
That's my daughter, who's a
So a
poet.
poet and us.
Fantastic.
2 with the Ha.
Oh, yeah.
So that's us 2 and Bowron and an amazing singer from Ireland. And we have recorded another one with her. And
another one with Jessie that's not out.
Jessie that's not out.
And that
a
one
duo
with
album.
Kirsty. And another one. So that's definitely more than 4.
Yeah, good.
What's the other one with Kirsty?
No, we've only done one with Kirsty,
Did I-
but I
oh,
didn't
yeah.
even
Did I
mention
not
I think on your Spotify there's just 4, and I think this is one of the reasons why the information that's on your
Spotify
album. I think it says something like.
Understand it.
I think it's. As long as I'm not wrong, I'm second guessing myself now, but I don't think I am. I think it says something like, since 2020,
there's
4 albums.
It's
probably
probably
only,
albums.
there's probably only 4
There are 4
albums.
just
These other
Ciderhouse.
things are...
Right.
And that's the fun of blooming Spotify, because as soon as you introduce somebody you are working with, it then gets very upset and starts saying, we need to create a whole new product for that.
At which point there are no...
Because you guys are so free with your style, like, you're not like you're a set band and this is the way. It's just not some rigid style.
No,
Yes,
or some
but
rigid format.
we do
Generally.
always sound like us.
Yeah.
It's
It's
unmissable after a
the
minute.
project basically has become Cider with.
Yeah, sure.
So it's Cider with Kirsty. So when it's with Kirsty Merrin, amazing singer.
That's the album we
latest
said we
album,
listened
yeah.
to.
So
Yeah.
Cider with Kirsty. Then you get with Jessie and his daughter. So they are Cider with Jessie or Jessie with Cider or whatever.
Something.
Can't remember what they call
I
it.
don't know
Then
what
we're
they're
doing one. Molly, who's the singer in the Ha. We've got an album coming out with her, which is Cider with Molly. So it's become. We even have in the plan, although life might mean it doesn't happen, but I think the title is worth saying anyway. We were going to do one with
Cider
Phil
with
Beer. The Cider with Beer, just seems
That sounds great.
to be done, really.
That's asking for it, isn't it? I definitely
He
think you
is up
guys
for
should.
it, but
He's
I think
up for
the
it, right?
diary
Yeah.
is...
Yeah, I definitely encourage that. So, like, when you were, because obviously you guys are so big on your sort of improv, so you record your albums like that?
Yeah.
So when you're working with, say, like a singer like Kirsty,
Yeah.
so do you record all that and then she writes the lyrics and sings
No.
over? No?
Yo,
She was amazing.
She's brave.
She and I wrote the lyrics for some songs.
Right.
One of them she made a melody in advance. One of them I made a melody in advance. Otherwise, it was
Made it up.
literally okay. Let's just get a feel. And then she sings 4 or 5
She
notes.
sings
We
a
do about
phrase and
3 seconds of playing, and then I say, "No, stop. We've got it already. Let's not waste it." Hit record, and then just made them up.
That's amazing.
And then so there might
I think she needs to take a lot of credit
Yeah.
for just the sheer
sheer bravery.
bravery and stupidity that went into that.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
we're used to it, and we may be strange, but for some reason it seems to work with us. But to then add in lyrics that you've got to scan to,
And a
and
melody
a melody
that
line,
you haven't
and
written.
taking the main part, and then allowing us the space to
Yeah.
go off on a bit of an improv for a while, and then bringing it back and doing. Yeah, no, I think she
did.
she
good.
deserves a lot of.
That's insanely impressive. That's insanely
It was
impressive.
mad.
So do you tour with her and stuff
Yeah,
like
we
that?
are doing. Yeah, we've just
Yeah.
done a few. We've got
Yeah.
another in the
Not as much
autumn.
as we're going to, because she's just got an amazing job with the National
John?
Trust,
Right.
which she needs to get into.
I don't understand.
Who wants one of those?
We're doing some festivals and stuff next year.
Yeah.
And as soon as she's only just started it, so she's waiting to see
work out
how it works. And
How to escape from it every so often.
It's so funny like talking to you guys because I mean we were sort of talking to an artist yesterday. Sort of my natural next sort of question, sort of it's sort of like, so like, are you writing new work at the moment? Or just with you guys, it's like, well, there's not really any point because I guess at some point you just decide to like press record and just see what comes out.
Well, we've got a new duo album. I don't know when it's out. Our agent will know, but I've forgotten.
Right.
I think maybe the end of the year. Depends on the engineer.
Depends whether you finish editing it, doesn't it?
Which is
well, not
me.
editing it, engineering.
Mixing it, which life. Yeah, anyway, let's not go there. Probably out by the end of the year, but that one we did just decide, you know what, we want to do one that's a bit more upbeat,
I
more
want to do an
dancey.
album that the world's going to shit, so we'll play something really happy and dancey. And so we kind of half did,
So
apart
it's
from the
kind
tracks
of
that are really...
the apocalypse dance night. It's kind of...
Apocalypse Dance Night. It's just a good name over there as well, you know? Yeah.
And that we did just literally get to where we often record, this nice house, set up the gear, and hit record, and we did it in 2 days. Well, that's
Fantastic.
10 tracks.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
amazing.
literally a case of, what are we doing? Oh, do you fancy this sort of groove? Yeah, all right then. Record. One of us starts.
Yeah.
And it won't necessarily stay in that. It's not like, we're going to do a jig in G major. He might start in 6/8 in G for the first few bars, and then God knows where it'll go.
Yeah.
And it could end up anywhere. Really could.
It's really interesting, because I think what most musicians will struggle with that, I don't know if you agree, is they could try and do something like that, but I think some people really struggle with, you go in there with that intention and suddenly you feel like you've put yourself on the spot, and as you know, then you freeze and your creativity is just destroyed. So
Adam,
why do you think that you both can do that
Adam
so well?
He explained the problem. He can explain how we sorted it. I hope he knows the answer. But it's the bloke in the corner. It's that if you can get the bloke over there who is standing there,
is that good enough?
I know you can do better than that.
Yeah, you could have been a bit sharper.
I've heard people who play better than that.
Yeah.
And if you can shut him up,
right,
but somehow, then all of a sudden you just play.
To me, it's the thing that is behind all creativity. Of course, you have to learn stuff. You get taught stuff. You get, in our case, to play by some of the greatest players in the world.
Yeah.
And then you listen to stuff and think, oh wow, that's amazing. But at some point, to create something, you have to say, whatever I'm going to do is worthwhile. And as soon as you can just catch that and say, right, I know, just bugger off, don't turn your head to the wall, just let me do it. Then it doesn't matter whether you're playing a violin concerto or
whatever,
improvising. You just let the thing roll and don't judge it. Except for the weird thing that all the time in proper playing you're always manoeuvring and judging and just
and reacting.
But you're not judging the value of it. You just let it go.
You're not giving it a scorecard.
It's interesting though, because even with you saying that, I feel like it's so much easier said than done. I feel like some people would listen to you say that and just say like, there's still no way in a million years. So I can hear the sense of what you're saying.
It took a while,
but I had to convince you.
First time we did it was like a release. So I think there is an element of once you've done it, it's like taking the cork out. It's very curious. You suddenly have that freedom to do it. But that was with Adam.
Right.
This year I've recorded I'm nearly some big number that I daren't mention because
12.
It's horrific. At the end of this year, there is a 0 involved. But I won't say the fifth number, the first one at the beginning. But so there we are, already at that age. But I did my first solo album this year,
right?
Because it's taken that length of time. A solo album is a really weird thing because it feels like you are really hanging up your personality for display, saying, right, this is what I am now.
So it makes you feel a bit naked.
So to get to a stage where I've actually got, you know what, I'm just going to record it. And literally went in my local church, hit record, spent 4 days in there and just recorded a load of stuff. I actually got 2 albums out of it.
Yeah. Wow.
And I don't know if it's any good.
Right, and the same that wasn't planned at all?
No, nothing was planned. Literally nothing was planned. It was just a case of, that's acoustic. But it is looking at the space and just trying to disassociate the critic from where you are at that moment.
Yeah.
Part of it is hidden in what you just said, actually, because you say the album is like hanging up where you are. This is me. This is what I do. So as soon as you get away from the idea that whatever you've just done in some way defines you or you're playing, and instead of that, well, it's just what I played then. That's what I recorded then. That's how I played it that day. If it's some big deal Tchaikovsky violin concerto or something, well, that's how I played it that day. That's the message I had then. If it was a message or if it was just a happening, it doesn't define anything more than that.
So you just feel like whatever mood you're in that day, that's just coming out in that moment. Tomorrow it could be different.
Yeah, I certainly, we've found that you can in your own mind have something, but then you happen to be in a church or. I mean, during lockdown, we did a lot of recording outside because we had to. As soon as you were allowed to meet 3 metres apart, there we were standing 3 metres apart with a battery-powered recording in a forest.
Yeah,
but then
sounds brilliant.
The next week we'd be up a hill, and it's a bit sunny today, and then the week after it's raining, and it just.
So do you deliberately take in these external influences?
Yeah, we did through that.
We did through that.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I think I do. If I'm playing in a particular room, particular environment, I do like to just sort of, not literally, but sort of mentally step back and look around and feed
take in the ambience, so to speak.
To the space.
You don't necessarily. It's not as if you're trying to describe it.
Oh no, it's not.
Anyway,
It's not
and we were in a gorgeous church in Portugal. In fact, the very one that I was attacked by saber-toothed tigers outside. It was absolutely beautiful, but a lot of the music we played had absolutely nothing to do with it.
I can't remember much about it.
Well, one I particularly remember is we'd done this really heavy thing and a couple of Portuguese guys, a drummer and a fluty kind of person, and a singer who was also banging a drum, joined us, and we'd done something, and I said, we need to do something gentle. So I started this really beautiful gentle thing, but at the end it was bang, bang.
It was gentle for about 30 seconds, maybe.
That's just for some reason that day in that place. That's
there
what
might have been a degree of reaction to the night.
Oh well, yeah, of course.
I'm getting them now.
Yeah. I mean, it's natural, really, isn't it? I mean, it's completely natural.
Well, it was either you have to either go down the beating them up route or the crying route. And I think we went down the let them have it.
It's less embarrassing to go down that route. Yeah.
Crying's not very functional.
But 100%.
In Sweden, very recently, there was this whole story about the naked fiddler, which you'll be glad to hear we're also not going to engage in here. But we might play, this is a beautiful old tune called Sweetest When She's Naked. One of my grandpa's favourite tunes. I don't know if it was the name or the tune, but we'll see.
Do you guys ever just sort of think, when you're playing live, do you ever just think, screw it, we're just going to like have a jam essentially? Do you do that a lot? Or?
That's all we do.
Is that, so you're not going to like play today? You're not going to like play anything from your album?
We might.
We might start.
There might be some
with
starting points.
Right, you said as like the beginning of a jam, but then let it.
But most likely, the first number I would expect will be
totally made
We'll
up.
walk on and go, what key? Oh, A major. All right.
Wow.
And that'll be that.
I think the
That's
thing
not even exaggerating. That is literally what we do.
Except when we go on and he says what key, and I just start without telling him.
I think the thing that's so impressive to me about that, it's like almost you can only do that because you've both got and you both have, which is also interesting because obviously you had to sort of find each other.
Yes.
But I'm sure you know other musicians similar as well. But by the sounds of things, well, no, you really don't.
I can't do this with anyone else.
Wow. See, so that's just a testament, isn't it? But what's so impressive to me, like I'm a musician, pretty much like 80% of my friends are musicians, but it's the level of experience, the sheer level of experience, skill mixed with bravery. That's what it seems. But I mean, stupidity. But really, I mean, it's even just the experience and skill alone. That's like decades and decades and decades of cultivation. So it's not like you can't just find
worked out how old we are.
He said decades and decades.
Sorry.
Could have said years and years, but no,
it was all going.
months and
Yes, it was all going so well.
Well, yeah, because I couldn't have done this in the first 10 years out of college. No way. Just didn't have the playing chops for it.
It's amazing. So what's on the sort of the horizon for you guys at the moment? Are you actively touring or?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're off from here. We go to Folk East, where we're playing as us, but we're also doing. We did a ballet last year, folk ballet or ballet folk. I always get those two the wrong way around. Is it ballet folk? Yeah. Which is a story, narrative poem story. So Jessie, Adam's daughter, recites the poem story. It's more of a story than a poem. It might be in poem form, but it is a story.
It doesn't matter.
It's storytelling. And we're working with ballet dancers from the Rambert School. And that we're performing at Folk East on Saturday afternoon. And then we've got a gig Saturday evening.
Yeah.
And then I think we actually get a brief bit of rest.
A couple of weeks off. Because then we've got a little tour in September.
Oh yes, we've got a tour in September. And then
we know where we're going.
South, somewhere.
Southwest. Yeah.
Yes. And then we're off to the States.
Yes, we are.
Oh, nice. Is that something you've done before, or?
It's
with an agent that I've worked with for years, which was the Red Priest thing. As I said, I stopped working with the Red Priest, and she sent me an email and said, if you fancy putting together something or other, I'd love to represent you. So I said, I'll bring Murray.
Sure.
So yeah, that's the next few months. And then we've got a tour with the Ha, we've got a tour with Kirsty.
Yeah.
And then there might be another one from us.
How long are you in the States?
A week.
A week.
Yeah.
So.
Have you been there before, like playing both of you?
It'll be the first time over for us.
Yeah.
Right, wow, cool. That'd be quite interesting though.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in the States?
New Jersey and Indianapolis.
Oh, wow. I can imagine you both looking forward to that quite a lot. I would, anyway.
I was looking forward to it more until
you became pregnant.
See, I can see there's an advantage and a negative.
The advantage
is we are going to do our it works really well at airports. Coming back from Portugal, we've never had it so easy.
Yeah,
you just get a wheelchair.
Zoom straight through.
He'll be like kicking you in the ankles every time you go.
We got on the first people on a Ryanair jet. It was amazing. Anyway, so flying to the States, I'm fully expecting to try and blag. I'm going business class, maybe even go first class. Let's see if we can. How far can we go on this? Certainly, we need more leg room because I'm going to actually put his entire leg in plaster. So straight out. See what we can do. So that's the fun bit. The bit that I don't know if Adam's worked this bit out yet.
God, probably not.
Is that he's a bit of a control freak when it comes to driving.
I have worked this out.
Yeah.
Murray's going to be driving.
I will be driving around the States with him as a grumpy passenger.
So you'll be having lots of
sitting
arguments.
where he would normally be driving as well, just to make it feel even worse.
Yeah,
on the wrong side of the road, nonetheless.
So that's going to be fun.
It will be excellent. Well, we can train you about the 2-second rule, can't we?
This could go on for a while.
You're the careful driver, he's the crazy driver.
He's a good driver. He just drives a little closer behind things than I do.
That's very diplomatic. Very diplomatic.
No, it's just true. No, I insult him when it can be done, but about his playing, it's obvious. But it's actually not a bad drive.
Brilliant. So if people want to contact you, where can they get hold of you, chaps?
The best one would be
Website,
theciderhouserebellion.com. If we're going with websites, obviously we are on Face, Twit, Wooble thing, whatever they all are.
All of them social
Insta-Wurble
medias.
things. And
As
all
the
of that.
Ciderhouse Rebellion, not on all of them?
Yes, although as is the nature of those, sometimes it is
Cider
hashtag
Reb.
variation.
the Cider Reb.
something.
I don't understand
Or
it
you could
all,
get
but-
through our agent, Katie
Yes.
Whitehouse.
So yeah, Katie Whitehouse
That's cool.
from the White House.
From the White House.
And if people want to listen to their music, obviously you've got
It's
lots
on
of
Spotty Hammer, Thingy,
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Bandcamp, YouTube,
Apple Music.
and obviously old school. Buy a CD from
Or
us.
come to a gig.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the best, wouldn't it? That would be the best.
No, buying a CD is good.
Yeah,
We've got merch.
we have merch and a book of tunes.
And just to wrap up, is there anything that you guys would want to say that you haven't mentioned, or any?
Yes.
I thought that was all sounded quite good so
I
far.
think the most important serious message from the whole thing is brewers, sort it out.
Yeah. All right. Ciderhouse Rebellion, thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure.
Murray, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate your time. Cheers.
Pleasure.